Fate is a poor boy living with his poor father and has an unfortunate skill of gluttony which keeps him hungry no matter what he eats. After his father dies, the villagers throw him out, so he ends up going to capital where he is bullied every day by holy knights. One day, Fate comes across a talking sword named Greed that awakens the true power of his gluttony skill, making strongest him of all. However, before any of this, a masked man fights many monsters in the wild. He shows great power and defeats them easily, but his face shows no joy. He feels empty and wants stronger enemies. Soon after, a man traveling by carriage is attacked by goblins and cries for help. A group of warriors arrives in time and saves him. The man feels relieved and thankful. The warriors kill many goblins with ease, but more keep coming. The warriors do not worry because they have many members and strong teamwork. They proudly say they will defeat all monsters. Later, the story shifts to a young man named Fate. He works as a gate guard in the royal capital. His stomach growls loudly all the time because he is always hungry. Fate listens as the warriors return and talk proudly about their success. He thinks he can never be like them. He believes he is useless because of his skill called gluttony. This skill brings him nothing but pain and endless hunger. Even so, he reminds himself to be thankful because at least he has a job. Sometime later, holy knights enter the town. Everyone watches them with fear and awe. They are the Vlerick siblings, a powerful noble family. A poor man accidentally drops food near them. One knight named Hado becomes angry and questions him. When the man tries to explain, Hado becomes even angrier just because a peasant dares to speak. The knights threaten him and say anyone who insults them deserves death. They leave him shaken and terrified. The people around feel angry but are too scared to help. At the castle gate, Fate finishes his long workday and feels relieved that it is almost over. The Vlerick knights return and ask Fate if he thinks he did a good job guarding the gate for them. Fate answers politely. Raffaele gives him his pay by throwing it on the ground and forces him to pick it up. Hado steps on Fate's hand on purpose and gives a fake apology, saying Fate is too filthy to notice. Fate's stomach growls loudly again. The knights mock him and accuse him of being disgusting. They beat him cruelly and say people like him survive only because of their mercy. They say his useless skill makes him worthless and that he should be grateful for being allowed to live. The beating continues until a female knight named Roxy steps in and stops them. She says holy knights exist to protect people, not abuse them. She explains that guarding the gate is an honorable duty and should never be mocked. The knights argue but eventually leave. Roxy helps Fate up and cleans his wounds. She tells him that he should report them if this happens again. Fate thanks her but says he is used to this treatment. He leaves quietly because he does not want her to get involved and possibly harmed. Later, Fate talks with a bartender who warns him that if he keeps accepting abuse, his life will end badly. On his way home, Fate eats a full meal, but his stomach still growls. He curses his gluttony skill and wishes he had any other life. He does not dream of being a holy knight. He only wants a normal job and respect. He believes that people without power are trapped forever. Suddenly, Fate sees thieves attacking someone near the gate. His first thought is to call Roxy. She rushes to stop them and leaves Fate in charge. One thief runs toward Fate while injured. Fear tells Fate to run, but he remembers Roxy trusting him. He forces himself to stand his ground. Fate attacks the thief with all his strength and kills him. A strange voice speaks in his head and says his gluttony skill activates. His stats increase, and new skills appear. Fate does not understand what is happening. When Roxy returns, Fate hears her thoughts without her speaking. He realizes he can hear minds. Soon, the voice disappears. Fate asks Roxy to take credit for the kill because he fears trouble if the Vlericks find out. Roxy instead offers him a job with her family. Fate hesitates because he worries someone else will suffer in his place. Roxy tells him to stop thinking too much and accept. Fate agrees. That night, Fate checks his body and finds his stats are now extremely high. His skills confuse him, but he feels hope for the first time. The next day, he tries to buy a sword but only has 2 silver coins. The merchant mocks him and tells him to check a barrel of broken weapons. Fate uses his identify skill and sees they are all useless. One sword stands out because it looks abandoned and dirty. The sword suddenly speaks to him. It calls itself Greed and says it understands gluttony. Fate buys the sword. Greed explains that Fate's skill steals power from enemies instead of gaining experience. That is why Fate stays at level 1 but grows stronger. Fate later meets goblins again and kills them easily. Each kill activates gluttony and raises his stats. He defeats hundreds without stopping. For the first time, his hunger disappears. Greed warns Fate to hide his power because gluttony breaks divine rules. As they travel, Fate meets a man with a little girl who cries for help. The man plans to sell her as a slave to the Holy Knights. Greed warns Fate to leave because the man is dangerous. Fate refuses. He remembers his suffering and decides to help. For the first time, Fate chooses to fight not out of fear but out of justice. In another place, a woman of the church speaks to a group of orphan children. She talks about the holy creator of the world, Laplace. She explains that when Laplace left the world, she gifted humans special powers called skills. Before eating, the children are told to give thanks, so they do. One boy does not eat much and looks angry. He says Laplace is unfair. Holy knights and warriors receive strong skills, but he is born with a weak one. He believes his parents never returned because of that weak skill. The nun explains that long ago, before Laplace left, there were no skills, no monsters, and no status numbers. Everyone was equal. The boy wishes he had lived in that time. Another nun suddenly rushes in and says one girl is missing. The girl's name is Sahara. Elsewhere, Fate follows a suspicious man and realizes that Sahara is the missing orphan. The kidnapper vents his anger by hitting a metal beam and leaves for a moment after hurting himself. Fate prepares to rescue the girl, but the man returns and blocks him. The kidnapper mocks Fate and compares him to foolish heroes who chase justice without strength. He says Fate cannot win while protecting the girl. Fate wants to move Sahara to safety but does not know where to go. Greed, the talking sword, creates a plan. Greed tells Fate to retreat and pretend to run away. The man believes Fate is weaker and chases them with confidence. The kidnapper threatens that killing Fate in front of Sahara will break her will forever. Greed senses the man's movement and guides Fate. Fate knocks over boxes and prepares himself. The man uses a deadly sharp-edged attack skill. Greed panics and tells Fate to strike directly through the enemy's weapon. Fate obeys and cuts through everything in his path. The enemy is defeated. Fate demands to know which holy knight ordered the kidnapping. The man refuses, so Fate forces the truth out of him. The kidnapper finally reveals that Hado is responsible. A brief scene shows Hado using orphan children for cruel training games. Fate saves Sahara and notices her stomach growling. They introduce themselves and go to eat. Sahara has never eaten meat before and burns herself trying to eat too fast. Fate gently stops her. She cries when she realizes how different her life has been. Fate gives her his own food. Later, he takes her back to the orphanage. The nuns thank him deeply. It is the first time in Fate's life that someone truly thanks him. Fate tells Sahara that he also has a weak skill that only makes him hungry. He gives her advice about surviving hardship and finding happiness by laughing through pain. These words come from his own father, words he did not understand as a child but now lives by. He wants Sahara to survive and grow strong. After leaving, Fate checks his status and sees rapid growth. Greed praises him for learning his first technical skill, a one-handed sword technique. This unlocks special combat abilities called Tech Arts. The new skill allows Fate to strike twice in a single motion. Fate realizes he narrowly avoided death earlier. Greed calls Fate a hero, but Fate disagrees. He believes luck saved him. Greed explains that battles depend on timing and chance, not only power. Fate decides he wants strength so strong that luck no longer decides his fate. Later, Fate remembers that his first day working for the Hart family is tomorrow and panics because he has no proper clothes. At a bar, people discuss the death of Sir Mason, who was killed by a divine dragon. Sir Mason kept the Holy Knights under control. Without him, the Knights may become dangerous. It is likely that Roxy will now lead the Hart family. The bartender mentions that Fate used to visit the bar daily after work. The next day, Fate enters the night district for the first time. The Hart estate amazes him. Roxy greets him warmly and compliments his appearance. She introduces him to her father's memorial. She explains her father died 5 days ago while suppressing monsters in Galia, a dangerous land ruled by beasts. A divine dragon unexpectedly appeared and wiped out the entire force. Fate is shocked that Roxy showed kindness to him while carrying such pain. Roxy says she is now head of the family and wants to build a happy home together. Fate avoids touching her hand to prevent his telepathy from activating. He distracts himself by pointing elsewhere. Haru, the chief maid, warns Fate to act properly as a Hart servant. Fate agrees but forgets completely when food appears. He eats wildly, shocking the staff. A week later, servants tell him to rest because he works too hard. They find him strange because he talks to his sword and shakes when eating meat. Fate's stomach growls loudly even after meals. Roxy calls Fate to talk. His hunger grows worse and distracts him. He fears losing control. Roxy snaps him back to reality. They share pain about losing their fathers in monster hunts. Roxy calls Fate family. Fate wants to become something worthy before accepting that bond. He suddenly collapses. Fate wakes up later with a note from Roxy telling him to rest. He asks Greed what is happening. Greed reveals the truth about gluttony. Once Fate tastes souls, the hunger never stops. The more he eats, the stronger he becomes, and the more he wants. If he resists, he will starve or lose control and attack others. Fate is horrified. Greed warns that when hunger reaches its limit, it shows in Fate's eyes. Fate leaves the estate and walks past people. He realizes they smell delicious. Greed explains this is the hunger boost state. His red eyes grant night vision, tracking by scent, and fear effects on weaker enemies. Outside the city, goblins freeze in terror. Fate slaughters them without mercy. They move deeper into the forest and continue hunting. Fate grows disturbed by how natural it feels. After hours, the hunger finally fades. A goblin king appears with a powerful healing skill. Fate wants that ability. The goblin eats a human, reminding Fate of the cruelty of monsters. After a hard battle, Fate trusts Greed fully and strikes. He wins and gains regeneration. Greed then offers a new deal. Fate can unlock Greed's next form by giving up all stats gained so far. Fate hesitates but accepts. Greed transforms into a magical bow. Fate fires without arrows and magic shots never miss. Afterward, Fate leaves goblin ears at the church door as silent gift for the children. Later, Fate stops someone sneaking around the Hart estate. He prepares himself for danger, but is shocked to discover that the intruder is actually Roxy. Since he already sees her, Roxy shares her secret. She is heading into town for a private inspection and does not want anyone to know. Roxy suddenly decides that Fate should come with her as an escort. Since he already looks like a peasant, he does not need a disguise. They head into town together. Fate keeps calling her my lady out of habit, which immediately draws attention. Greed keeps teasing, pushing Fate close to losing his patience. Roxy stops Fate when he threatens the sword, saying weapons should not be treated roughly. She then notices his sword and wants a closer look. Fate hesitates. Unfortunately, Fate drops the sword, and Roxy examines it. She does not sense anything strange and simply comments that it needs maintenance. She offers to take him to the Hart family's blacksmith. They enter the busy market. Roxy tastes grapes from a stall. The merchant proudly says they come from the Hart vineyard. Roxy enjoys them openly, nearly revealing her identity. Greed quickly gives Fate an idea, and Fate saves the situation by saying Lexi has a relative who works there. Roxy praises his quick thinking. Suddenly, the crowd reacts as holy knights arrive. Since Sir Mason's death, knights appear more often in public. Fate's stomach growls at the worst moment. A holy knight becomes angry and demands respect. Fate apologizes, hoping to calm things down, but the knight wants to humiliate him. He tries to step on Fate, but Roxy stops him. The knight then looks closely at Roxy, and the crowd begins to suspect who she is. Greed quickly suggests pretending to be a couple. Fate panics, but Roxy thinks it is a good idea. She grabs Fate's arm, and they act like an arguing pair. They complain loudly about food and chores. The scene becomes so uncomfortable that everyone looks away. They escape safely. Fate suddenly hears Roxy's thoughts. She thinks about how close they are and how fast her heart is beating. Roxy urges them to keep moving. They browse shops together. Roxy acts like a normal girl, fascinated by large gems. Fate secretly uses Identify to check ores, but greed warns him not to be obvious. Merchants dislike people with such skills. Roxy ignores the ores and looks only at gems. Fate realizes she feels like a normal girl, not a holy knight. A merchant offers a discount, assuming Fate wants to impress his girlfriend. Fate turns red, and Roxy declines the offer. Roxy asks if Fate knows any active warriors. They overhear talk about piles of dead goblins found recently. People believe a wandering monster is responsible. Someone mentions Goblin King ears donated to an orphanage, which confuses everyone. Roxy wants more information and asks Fate to take her to where warriors gather. She admits she is investigating the wandering monster. Fate freezes because he knows he is the monster they are discussing. Greed finds the situation amusing. They go to the bar Fate once visited daily. The bartender barely recognizes him and is shocked to see him alive, and even more shocked that Fate has a girlfriend. Roxy accidentally crushes a cup from embarrassment. The bartender laughs it off. He shares rumors about a warrior finding a mountain of goblin bodies with ears untouched. Fate feels guilty knowing he caused the fear. An old man arrives and claims the monster might be a lich. This alarms everyone because holy knights will now act directly. Greed worries since Fate recently gave up his stats and cannot face knights. Fate panics at the thought of Roxy joining the hunt and discovering his secret. Before answers form, drunken warriors demand Roxy joins them. Fate moves to protect her, but Roxy handles it easily. The warriors realize only a holy knight could be so strong. Roxy admits her identity. They apologize and offer money. Roxy refuses and expresses sadness that people fear knights. She shares her father's dream of a world where knights and peasants laugh together. Fate decides he will support that dream. Later, Greed enjoys repairs at the blacksmith and feels reborn. Roxy explains that the hunt is led by the Vlerick family and she was not informed. Soon, they encounter Hado mistreating a child. The Vlericks claim they are protecting him. Roxy rejects this and takes the boy. She questions Raffaele about excluding her from the hunt. Raffaele claims he thought she was grieving. Hado insults Fate, but Raffaele shuts him up. They help reunite the child with his mother. Roxy's joy in helping others moves him deeply. As they head home, Fate hopes moments like this could last forever, though he knows they cannot. Fate asks Greed how to hunt monsters secretly. Greed suggests a mask that changes how others see him. They buy one. Fate gifts Roxy an or she liked. She cracks it open easily, revealing shining material. Fate uses Identify to explain its value. Roxy treasures it. She offers him gifts, and Greed forces Fate to accept a sharpening stone. The day ends warmly, while elsewhere Raffaele gathers knights to plan their next dangerous mission in Galia. Sometime later, a group of adventurers explore an area where monsters once lived. They are shocked to see that every monster is already dead. Fear fills them when they realize the one responsible is nearby. They believe the rumored lich known as Corpse has struck again. Panic spreads, and they flee in terror. Elsewhere, Fate reflects on his new nickname and feels strangely satisfied with it. Greed asks if he plans to stop hunting for the day, but Fate says no. He wants to raise his strength as much as possible before the Holy Knights begin hunting him. The next day, Fate looks exhausted from stress. Living two lives is slowly crushing him. While working, Roxy suddenly appears and says she has a secret task for him. As they walk, she shows him her family's land. Fate believes the mission is serious, but it turns out she only wants to show him the vineyard because he liked the grapes before. When they arrive, Roxy checks on her mother, who seems healthier than usual. Roxy introduces Fate to her family as a servant she hired. Her mother's name is Aisha. She is kind and welcoming. which surprises Fate. Aisha suddenly asks Fate if he likes Roxy. Both Fate and Roxy panic, but Aisha explains she means as a leader. Fate responds honestly and says he respects Roxy deeply and wishes to serve her for the rest of his life if allowed. The words overwhelm Roxy, and she runs away embarrassed. Aisha laughs and explains that Roxy has always been sensitive and emotional, even scared of bugs as a child. Fate finds it hard to connect that image with the calm knight he knows. Aisha still worries for her daughter, but Fate reassures her that Roxy is trusted and admired by many people. Aisha feels proud hearing this. Later, Roxy sits alone in her room, holding a doll and remembering her father. He once praised her for becoming a holy knight. She promised to be just like him, but now feels she has not lived up to that promise. Feeling ashamed, she puts the doll away. Eventually, the true task begins when Fate helps harvest grapes. He tastes fresh juice and learns how much effort generations of people put into caring for the land. Without thinking, Fate asks about Sir Mason. The workers explain his death hurts everyone, but are glad Roxy continues the yearly harvest tradition. They also explain that monsters called kobolds appear during harvest season. Fate laughs when his stomach growls, but inside he feels danger rising. Afterward, Roxy sends Fate home early, saying she has other duties. On the road, Fate encounters a white-haired girl carrying a dangerous weapon. She has the same red eyes as him. He cannot read her status. She looks at him and says she arrived too early, and then tells him he can handle the kobolds instead. She says he owes her and leaves. Greed claims he does not know her, but Fate doubts him. Later, Roxy explains that the girl is from Galia, a nation destroyed long ago by monsters. However, seeing a full-blooded survivor shocks her. Roxy reassures Fate that she will not hunt alone. Warriors will assist her, and she is confident in her strength. The next day, farmers find their land damaged by monsters. While preparing to fight kobolds, a terrifying new monster appears. Fate feels intense hunger instead of fear. Greed explains this is bad because it means Fate is nearing starvation again. Fate checks the creature's status and sees it is level 50, a crowned beast formed from long hatred. Greed warns that this enemy is far beyond normal monsters. Villagers panic, but Roxy calms them with strong leadership and promises to defeat the beast. She plans to wait until the warriors prepare. Greed tells Fate they will lose if they fight together. Fate thinks carefully. He knows he cannot defeat such a monster yet, but he cannot let Roxy die. That night, Fate goes alone into the forest. Greed mocks him for always acting like a hero. They see kobold warriors guarding the crowned beast. Fate changes Greed into a bow and attacks silently. His gluttony skill activates again and again as he kills. He shoots the crowned beast, but it blocks the arrow using its own soldiers. Fate switches back to his sword and fights through the enemies, making his power grows rapidly. But it is still not enough. The crowned beast prepares a devastating attack. Greed warns that it can destroy armor and organs. Fate dodges but is blasted into a river. Greed calls out, thinking he is unconscious. A kobold attacks, but Fate suddenly strikes back. He was pretending. Greed tells him he can now use his hidden art at the cost of 10% of his power. Fate agrees. Greed transforms, and Fate fires a final attack, making sure the crowned beast is destroyed. Immediately, Fate collapses in pain. Greed explains that consuming such a powerful soul overloads his body. Fate struggles through the agony. The next day, warriors arrive and see the destruction. They believe magic arrows caused it. Roxy suspects the white-haired girl is responsible. Later, Fate recovers. Roxy speaks with her mother, and Aisha notices how happy Roxy becomes when talking about Fate. Aisha asks Fate to stay by Roxy's side and support her. She says strength is not the most important thing. Fate's desire to help matters more. She admits she herself had no great skill but still supported her husband. Knowing her time is short, she asks Fate to support Roxy in her place. Fate reflects deeply. He doubts he deserves such trust while hiding his monstrous hunger. That night, his eye still glows red, and his hunger continues despite killing powerful monsters. Greed explains weaker monsters no longer satisfy him. Fate realizes time is running out. Later at the bar, Fate hides his eye and listens to rumors. People say Hado will join the next expedition. Others wish he would be sent to Galia. News spreads that another expedition is already being planned. Fate is shocked. Soon, Holy Knights gather and assign Roxy to the Galia mission. Fate begs her not to go, but she has already decided, so he watches her leave helplessly. Elsewhere, the Vlaric family celebrates. They see the Hart family as an obstacle and are glad Roxy is leaving. Raffaele tells Hado to handle the Lich. That night, Fate accepts that he cannot stop orders, but he will not allow cruelty to continue. He finally decides how to satisfy his hunger as he waits silently for Hado. Hado finally meets the mysterious killer known as Corpse. Hado orders his men to attack at once. They rush forward with confidence. In a few moments, Fate crushes them completely. Fate then looks at the remaining men with cold eyes. Terror spreads through the group, and they run away without looking back. Hado is shaking, but he still tries to act proud. He calls Corpse a monster and swears he will not be humiliated by him. Fate calmly removes his mask and shows his face. Hado freezes when he realizes that Corpse is actually Fate. Fate feels no need to explain anything. Hado struggles to stay calm and reminds Fate that he is the second son of the powerful Vlaric family and a holy knight. Fate is not impressed. Fate checks Hado's abilities and sees that Hado has the Holy Sword technique, a rare skill needed to become a holy knight. Hado suddenly grows confident and mocks Fate for stepping into sword range. He launches a strong attack, but in the next moment, Fate is already behind him. Hado panics and swings again, but Fate cuts the holy sword in half as if it is made of paper. Fate throws the broken piece back at him and tells him to pick it up. Hado trembles and tries to run. Fate reminds him that a holy knight should not beg or flee. Hado trips and falls in fear when Fate calls him pathetic and drags him back to his feet. He reminds Hado of the cruel words he once used, about punishing those who dare to resist. Hado realizes what is coming and begs for mercy. Fate shows no mercy. He slams Hado into the mountainside and drags him through the forest, breaking his body again and again. Hado becomes barely recognizable and cries desperately for forgiveness. Fate feels no pity. He remembers how Hado treats people like insects and how Roxy is now walking into danger because of people like him. Hado begs again, but Fate is beyond anger. He throws Hado high into the air. Fate shifts his stats so greed can become a massive bow. Fate fires a devastating attack that crashes down with overwhelming force. When the dust settles, Hado lies alive but completely destroyed. Now terrified, Hado begs Fate to kill him. Fate says he still has questions. He asks about Roxy. Hado reveals that Roxy volunteers for the Galia expedition by her own will. She believes that if her life can save even one citizen, it is worth it. Hado quickly changes his tone and begs for his life again. He promises to cancel Roxy's expedition and tells Fate not to do anything reckless. Fate drives his blade straight through Hado's chest and ends his life. As Hado dies, Fate's gluttony skill activates. He gains the Holy Sword technique skill. Greed then explains that Fate can now unlock the second level of Greed's power. Fate accepts because he cannot stand the thought of keeping Hado's power inside him without control. Greed transforms into a massive scythe. The weapon carries a powerful curse that can cut through anything. Fate admits the weapon is impressive, but wishes it could shorten Roxy's dangerous journey to Galia. Elsewhere, Roxy prepares for the expedition. She wears the gem Fate gave her around her neck. Fate stands among the crowd, unable to stop her. Roxy tells everyone not to be sad and says 3 years will pass quickly. She approaches Fate, and he wants to tell her how he feels, but he stops himself. He believes he is a monster and unworthy of her. Roxy smiles and says they will meet again. They say their goodbyes. Afterward, Haru gives Fate a recommendation letter from Roxy. As long as Fate works for a lord, the Vlarics cannot harm him. Fate realizes Roxy worries about him until the very end. That night, Fate tells Greed the truth. If he cannot stop Roxy from going to Galia, then he will support her in his own way. Fate begins his journey toward Galia. The white-haired girl watches from afar and says everything is moving as planned. Later, Roxy addresses the soldiers joining the expedition. She explains that their goal is to defeat the divine dragon that awakens after 1,000 years. She is glad to see familiar faces among the group, including Mania and a strong warrior named Mugan. Mugan admits he wants to test his strength against the dragon. Roxy calms him down. Mugan explains that he joins because of Roxy's father and wants revenge. He says his daughter Rain does not care and only wants relics from Galia. The group begins to bond, and Roxy laughs as they argue. Meanwhile, Rain works as a researcher in a lab filled with monster remains. She studies goblins killed by corpse and notices strange arrow wounds. She identifies them as magic arrows from the Black Sword, one of the weapons of mortal sin. These weapons can control magic at a high level. Rain believes anyone who wields such a weapon is extremely dangerous. Fate arrives at Tetra, a major trade city and travel hub. He learns that the carriage to Galia leaves the next day. While walking away, Greed teases him about Roxy, and Fate angrily tells him to stop, accidentally alarming a nearby driver. Fate goes to eat and finds a man begging warriors for help. The warriors mock him because the reward is small. Fate steps in and easily defeats them. He recognizes the man as Sito, someone from his old village. Memories return. Fate remembers how his father, Dean, is a warrior with the spear technique. After Dean dies, the village keeps him only for his skill. Fate, having a useless skill, is abandoned and eventually exiled. Now Sito begs Fate for help. Fate agrees, remembering his father. When they reach the village, the chief insults Fate and calls him useless. Even after seeing Fate's strength, the chief refuses to trust him. He decides to use Fate as bait to buy time. At Sito's house, Fate learns the truth. Sito's wife is killed by monsters. He regrets blindly following his father. The monsters appear a month ago and can fly. Greed guesses they are gargoyles. Sito's daughter gives Fate candy, and they play. Fate eats, then suddenly faints because of the candy is poisoned, and that's when the monsters arrive at the village. The story begins when monsters suddenly attack a village without any warning. They do not waste time and start destroying houses and killing people. Greed tries to wake Fate, but he quickly gives up because Fate is completely drugged and cannot respond. The village is torn apart in moments. Set's father runs through the streets, shouting Fate's name. Before he can do anything, Set's father meets a horrible end and is eaten by one of the monsters. Meanwhile, Sito manages to create an antidote and finally wakes Fate. Fate is confused and does not know where he is, so Sito explains everything that happened and apologizes for his father's foolish actions. Fate steps outside and sees a terrible sight. Monsters are everywhere, spreading fire and chaos. Greed warns that the monsters are attacking from above and that this makes the fight very difficult. When they check the monster's strength, they learn that the enemies are level 27 and can use Fireball. Greed believes they have almost no chance in their current state. Because of this, Greed tells Fate to transform him into the Scythe. Fate does so and uses the Scythe against a Fireball. At first, Fate thinks it fails, but Greed explains that the Scythe cuts magic, not the fire created by it. The monsters realize this weakness and start filling the area with fire instead of attacking directly. Even so, Fate refuses to back down. He launches a powerful attack that cuts through every dragon at once. His gluttony skill activates, and he gains the Fireball skill. The battle is not over yet. The leader of the monsters appears a massive behemoth at level 47 with Fireball and fire resistance. Greed explains that the monster will come close and attack with Fireball, and that will be Fate's chance. As the beast approaches, Fate listens carefully. When the moment comes, he strikes and splits the behemoth in half. Another victory activates Gluttony again, raising his level and giving him fire resistance. The next morning is quiet and sad. Sito explains that most villagers are dead, including his father. The village is finished. Fate adds that the land itself is ruined and crops will never grow there again. Sito notices that Fate can use the Identify skill and wonders why he risks his life as a warrior when he could live safely using that ability. Fate answers honestly. His gluttony skill breaks divine law, and he has no choice but to keep fighting. Sito then asks Fate to punch him in the face to make up for what he did. Fate is shocked, but Greed encourages it. saying Sito needs this to move on. Fate does not hesitate, and he tells Sito to clench his teeth and punches him hard. Sito thanks him, feeling relieved. They say goodbye, and Fate returns home to see his father. He thinks about the ruined village and feels sad, but he also knows he still has memories of his own father. He tells his father that he will be fine from now on. Elsewhere, Roxy is told that she is heading toward a place called Lanchester. She is warned about the lord of that land, but no details are given. She is simply told she will understand when she arrives. Sometime later, Fate works as a guard for a wagon and is paid 3 gold coins. The merchant doubts Fate's strength because he looks sleepy, but Fate assures him he can fight. Soon, bandits block the road and demand all valuables. Greed jokes that Fate should have asked for more money. The bandits attack, but a sudden powerful strike sends one flying into the air. Greed recognizes the attacker immediately. It is the strange girl from before. The girl reminds Fate that he owes her for letting him kill the kobold earlier. She asks for a ride. When she steps onto the wagon, it nearly breaks because of her heavy weapon, Sloth. She orders it to return to normal size. She reveals that she knows Fate has the gluttony skill and introduces herself as Mine of Wrath. She explains that she knows about deadly sin skills because she has one too. Greed stays silent, pretending to be an ordinary sword. Mine eats almost all of Fate's food because she is starving. They reach Lanchester, where a man named Rudolph saves a girl from a monster. He introduces himself as the Lord of Lanchester. Fate realizes that Roxy is coming to this city as well. Greed laughs, pointing out Fate chased Roxy but passed her without knowing. After getting paid, Mine takes the money, claiming she saved the wagon. They look for a place to stay, but Mine collapses from exhaustion. Fate carries her while Greed explains she is not a morning person. In town, Fate notices strange marks on people's necks. Guards and citizens have different marks, likely showing social class. The people seem loyal to Rudolph. The story then shows Rudolph's true nature. He is cruel and punishes people harshly, even executing them to show his power over the Hart family. His behavior grows more violent. At the inn, Greed finally explains that Mine and her weapon Sloth are old acquaintances. Sloth, like Greed, is a weapon of mortal sin. Greed explains the deadly sins: pride, envy, lust, sloth, greed, wrath, and gluttony. These skills exist because they defy divine rules. Gluttony is especially dangerous because it can break the limits of leveling. Fate struggles with this truth. His skill forces him to keep killing to survive. Greed warns him that emotional instability can let gluttony take over his mind. The only way to resist is to stay in a state of near starvation. Fate agrees to train. They hunt sand monsters. Greed helps Fate use Fireball with his bow, instantly destroying enemies. Each kill feeds gluttony but also increases the hunger. Fate learns to control it little by little, like drinking tiny sips of water in a desert. It is painful, but he endures it. Later, Fate senses a powerful crowned beast nearby. It turns out to be a sand golem at level 60 attacking people. Fate fights it alone. He uses fire arrows and then transforms Greed into the scythe to cut through its sandstorm. When the core tries to escape, Fate uses a powerful bow attack, sacrificing part of his stats. The attack destroys the golem completely. Gluttony absorbs its power. The rescued people are amazed but cautious. Fate introduces himself as Corpse. He decides he does not need equipment because his skill lets him steal power directly. The next day, Mine plans to hunt the sand golem but learns Fate already killed it. When Fate goes to claim the reward, Lord Rudolph appears and demands Corpse serve him. Mine refuses and attacks Rudolph, sending him flying. Fate realizes this will cause serious trouble, and he decides they must leave the city immediately. Sometime later, Fate travels with Mine and starts wondering if she really holds a deadly sin skill. She eats non-stop, stuffing her face without pause. Fate jokes in his mind about where all that food even goes. Mine hears his comment and gets angry. Her emotion affects her weapon, making it extremely heavy. The carriage breaks under the pressure and is completely destroyed. Fixing it costs Fate a lot of money. Mine does not seem to care at all and simply walks ahead as if nothing happens. They soon arrive at a quiet and peaceful village. At first, it feels safe, but Greed explains that they are now very close to Galia, a dangerous area full of monsters. For a village to survive here, someone very strong must be protecting it. In the distance, they see a castle standing tall. They meet the village chief, who carries a holy sword. This means he is a holy knight and likely the one defending the village. Before allowing them to stay, the chief demands a fight with Fate. During the meeting, the chief immediately notices that Fate is using the Identify skill. He somehow knows Fate is level 1, yet his stats exceed 2 million. Fate is shocked and asks when the chief examined him, but the man has no interest in talking. He only wants to fight. The battle begins and ends quickly. Fate loses. He assumes they will be forced to leave, but the chief says otherwise. He believes Fate is here for a reason. He allows them to stay on one condition. Fate must train under him. The chief says Fate has great potential, but Fate feels uneasy, sensing something strange. The chief explains that Fate does not know how to hide from Identify and also fails to use his other skills properly. Fate's body has not adapted to his massive power yet. While his fighting style works against monsters, it will fail against strong humans. Greed feels suspicious because the chief asks for nothing in return. Still, Fate realizes this is a rare chance to learn from a holy knight. He agrees. The chief introduces himself as Aaron. When Mine arrives, Aaron instantly sees that she is an extremely powerful warrior. Training begins with hand-to-hand combat. Aaron believes this is the best way to learn how to control overwhelming stats. He explains that many warriors who suddenly gain power struggle with this. He corrects Fate's posture and tells him to relax. Tensing muscles too much slows movement and weakens attacks. A calm body allows better control and greater hidden strength. Fate improves quickly, but then intense pain hits him. Gluttony begins acting up. Aaron notices Fate's eyes change color. Despite his hunger, Fate's movements suddenly become smoother and sharper. Greed notices that Fate fights well even while nearly starved. Training ends for the day. Later, Fate smells a monster and wonders if it hides in the castle. Aaron suddenly screams, but it turns out Mine is just having a solo eating feast. Aaron leaves to get more food. Fate plays a small prank on Mine despite Greed warning him not to. That night, Aaron pauses outside his home and stares sadly at the castle. Inside, Fate notices a painting of Aaron's family. Greed points out that Aaron's son looks very similar to Fate. Greed starts to understand why Aaron lives here, far from everything. The next morning, Mine wakes up furious when she finds her face drawn on. Later, Aaron trains Fate to parry attacks using only a stick. Fate thinks it will snap, but Aaron trusts his training. Fate focuses on predicting sword angles and guiding the blade away. Aaron praises him and says Fate can now control his massive power. That night, Fate thanks Aaron and explains they plan to leave the next day. Mine refuses to thank him and keeps eating. Aaron smiles and says it is fine. During dinner, Mine admits all food tastes the same to her. Greed explains this is the cost of her wrath skill. She has lost her sense of taste. Aaron then reveals his past. 15 years ago, the castle belonged to him. One day, he left for a mission. While he was gone, the castle was attacked by a crowned beast that had grown strong from hatred. His family and people died. The castle now belongs to a lich lord, a being born from death. Aaron believes his family's souls are trapped there. Suddenly, Fate feels something wrong. He steps outside, and Aaron follows. Fate plans to go to the castle. Aaron decides to join him to face his past. Mine stays behind to guard the village and demands 50 gold as payment. At the castle, Fate silently defeats a guard with a magic arrow. Aaron is shocked. This technique is so difficult it is no longer taught in the capital. They move inside, defeating skeleton guards. Music leads them to the second floor. There, Aaron sees his son Luke playing piano. His wife Diana appears too. They act as if nothing is wrong and ask if Aaron completed his mission. Greed tells Fate these are not living beings. Aaron approaches, wanting to give his son a gift. Suddenly, Luke stabs him. Aaron expected this and blocks it. Luke explodes with anger, blaming his father for always choosing duty over family. He believes Eren abandoned them. Fate considers cutting the illusion with the scythe, but greed warns him. Doing so would consume their souls forever. Fate cannot bring himself to do it. Eren says he will handle it and tells Fate to find the Lich. Outside, Fate senses the Lich hiding among corpses. He attacks it with a magic arrow, forcing it into view. The Lich is extremely powerful, with stats over 1 million. Fate uses everything he learned to fight and destroys the Lich's weapon. The Lich controls corpses and orders them to beg Fate for help. Fate refuses to attack them, putting himself in danger. Eren arrives and disables the corpses without killing them. He sees his wife among them and remembers how his family begged him not to leave. He blames himself. He decides to end their suffering. He uses Grand Cross, releasing Holy Light. It is not enough. Fate picks up a holy sword despite greed warning him and supports the attack. Together, they destroy the Lich completely. The spirits of Eren's family appear. They forgive him, but he still regrets everything. He promises to live honoring their memory and finally gives his son the gift he brought. The illusion fades. The Lich tries one final attack, but Fate destroys it. Gluttony absorbs its massive power, causing Fate great pain. Eren explains that fighting beside Fate helped him surpass his level limit. They still must defeat remaining monsters, so they turn it into a competition. Later, Eren pays Mine for guarding the village. She says the money will help rebuild it. Eren then realizes he has seen Mine before, 50 years ago, and she looks exactly the same. Mine confirms it and says humans have limits. She reveals she is a phantom who cannot die. After Fate recovers, he tells Eren about his condition that forces him to hunt monsters. Eren understands and promises to tell Fate something important later. Elsewhere, Raffaele gains a Philosopher's Stone and dreams of immortality. He learns his brother was killed by someone called Corpse. Raffaele becomes obsessed with discovering who Corpse truly is. Fate feels annoyed when he sees Mine eating most of their food by herself. After seeing his reaction, she shares some food with him. Once she finishes eating, she casually uses Fate as a bed and lies down on him. She complains that he is not comfortable because he keeps moving and talking. Fate tries to protest, but Mine is already asleep. Fate wants to know more about her past, but Greed tells him that answers will come naturally if they keep traveling together. Greed also warns Fate not to dig too deeply into Mine's history, as it may bring trouble. Fate accepts this and decides to wait. Meanwhile, Roxy and her group approach the border of Galia. They reach the small village that Fate recently left behind. Roxy explains to her companions that a powerful undead monster, known as a Lich Lord called Crown Beast, once controlled a nearby castle. When they investigate the castle, they sense no monsters at all and realize that it has already been cleared. Soon after, Eren arrives to greet them. Mugan immediately bows deeply, overwhelmed to meet Eren Barbatos, the head of the Barbatos family and a legendary swordsman known as the Blade of Light. Eren barely reacts to the praise and instead shows that he already knows Roxy. He reveals that he knew her parents well and even gave her the name Roxy when she was born. Eren explains that he has retired from being a hero. He believes he failed to protect the people he cared about, and because of that, he feels he no longer has a reason to fight. Roxy is shocked that he defeated the Lich, but Eren admits he did not do it alone. Mania becomes curious about the mysterious person who helped him. Roxy needs the person's name for her report to the capital, but Eren explains that Fate asked him to keep his identity secret. He apologizes and says he cannot reveal it. As they prepare to leave, Eren questions whether Roxy's expedition to Galia was truly her own decision. Roxy insists that it was. Eren believes the Veilric family manipulates her, as the Hart and Barbatos families have always been a problem for them. Roxy responds that she does not care about politics. Her only goal is to protect her people. Eren is stunned when he learns that Roxy's father has passed away. After a moment, Eren offers to train Roxy in combat while they are in Galia. She happily accepts the offer. Training begins, while the rest of the group works on repairing the village. Far away, Fate and Mine continue their journey and enter the ruins of Galia. Mine reveals that this place is where she was born. She was taken to the imperial capital immediately after her birth, so she remembers nothing about it. Fate is shocked because Galia was destroyed thousands of years ago. As they move deeper, they find a strange structure that looks like a massive cocoon. Greed explains that it is a chimera, a biological weapon created by ancient Galia. It is made by merging many monsters into one body. His identification skill reveals terrifyingly high stats, and many of its abilities cannot even be read. Greed explains that the mixed monsters make it unstable. Luckily, this chimera is still in its larval stage, meaning it can be defeated. Without waiting for agreement, Mine awakens the chimera. Fate notices a human girl inside it, with red eyes similar to his own. Greed explains that the eyes are meant to intimidate him and tells Fate not to stare, or he will freeze. The girl is the core of the chimera, and Fate must kill her. Fate hesitates because he knows that devoured souls suffer forever. Mine coldly tells him that the girl is no longer human and that his hesitation will get them both killed. The chimera proves this by launching a massive lava attack. Fate tries to use his scythe, but Greed explains it cannot block indirect magic. Mine steps in and stops the attack herself. They split up to fight more effectively. Mine cuts off the chimera's arm, and Fate uses petrifying magic arrows to slow it down. However, the monster quickly regenerates. Greed explains that Mine's power increases with each strike, but her speed drops. The chimera becomes furious and begins to change. Mine tells Fate to stay back. Fate thinks of Roxy and realizes he does not want to always be protected. He wants real strength. He decides to enter a half-starvation state to draw out more power from gluttony. Mine warns him of the danger, but Fate accepts the risk. The process is painful, but he manages to control it. The chimera launches exploding feathers. Fate uses Greed's power, shares some of his stats, and petrifies the enemy briefly. Mine unleashes a massive attack, but the chimera raises a powerful barrier. Fate learns to sense the flow of magic and breaks the barrier, but he accidentally looks into its eyes and begins bleeding. Running out of time, Mine throws Fate into the air using her axe. Greed reveals Fate's second secret technique, which adds another blade to the scythe at great cost. Fate finds the core, but the chimera traps him and tries to self-destruct. Fate uses Deadly Inferno and strikes the core. He sees visions of children disappearing, leaving behind two girls. The fight ends. Fate feels deep sadness instead of victory. Greed explains this feeling is natural. Mine buries the girl and explains the truth of Chimera. Fate fears his own power and asks Mine to kill him if he ever loses control. She hugs him and agrees. Later, Fate travels toward Babylon, while Mine stays behind. Greed reaches a new level and transforms into a shield. Fate reaches Babylon as Roxy arrives, but a mysterious girl suddenly declares that Roxy is going to die. Fate explains that Babylon is a special place where many different warriors gather. Former holy knights live there, along with fighters who hold deep hatred toward the holy knights. Greed explains that Babylon only cares about strength. If someone is strong enough, their past mistakes and crimes are ignored. Alistair approaches Roxy and introduces himself. He speaks with regret and says he failed to protect her father, even though he once served beside him. He bows his head and apologizes sincerely. Roxy gently tells him to lift his head. She explains that she is now walking the same path as her father. Her goal is to defend Galia from monsters and protect the people. Alistair stares deeply into her eyes, clearly moved by her words. Miria does not like the way he looks at Roxy and prepares to step in, but Mugan stops her. He warns her that causing trouble with a holy knight could easily cost her life. As Fate walks through Babylon, he complains about how expensive everything is. Greed suddenly stops him after spotting a beautiful scabbard in a shop. The sword becomes excited and says it is calling out to him. Fate assumes it is far beyond his budget, but Greed mocks him for being cheap and reminds him that Fate can always earn money by hunting monsters. The shop owner turns out to be a strange man who somehow knows exactly how Fate's clothes were damaged in battle. Greed decides this means the man can be trusted and encourages Fate to speak with him. The shop owner explains that the scabbard on display is only a sample, but he can create one that perfectly matches Fate's sword. He admits he has never seen a weapon like Greed before. Greed proudly claims that his presence is impossible to hide. The shop owner then reveals the price for such a special scabbard, which is 500 gold coins. Fate is shocked by the cost and immediately runs out of the shop. Babylon is already expensive enough, and he needs to focus on daily survival first. Outside, a group of warriors approach Fate and recognize him as the man wearing the skull mask. They assume he wants to build fame through monster hunting so he can become a soldier for the capital. Fate calmly explains that he does not plan to serve anyone. The warriors apologize for the misunderstanding. Greed comments that if Fate dressed better, fewer troublemakers would bother him. Fate finally agrees that they need money and equipment, and both he and Greed get excited about hunting monsters. They cross into Galia, where the air smells terrible. Monster corpses cover the land, and toxic spores float everywhere. Greed warns Fate not to breathe deeply, as too much exposure could cause moss to grow inside his lungs. Suddenly, Greed senses danger. A stampede of orcs is approaching. Around 50 orcs charge forward, all armed and moving with coordination. Greed explains that these are intelligent enemies and should be fought like humans. But before he can act, other warriors rush in to fight the orcs. Greed tells Fate to hurry and steal the kills. Fate hesitates, but many more orcs soon appear, forcing him to join the battle. Greed transforms into a magical shield that blocks both physical and magical attacks, turning Fate into a moving fortress. Greed orders Fate to charge forward so he can show off the shield's power. Fate runs straight through the enemy line, crushing orcs with ease. The shield bash attack requires great strength, but Fate has more than enough. Orcs fall one after another as he barrels through them. His gluttony skill activates repeatedly due to the sheer number of enemies. When the fight ends, Fate notices something strange. His gluttony no longer feels wild or unstable. At the guild, everyone is stunned when they see how many orc parts Fate brings back alone. He exchanges them for a reward, but the warriors from earlier accuse him of stealing their kills. Greed scoffs, saying those men would be dead if Fate had not stepped in. One man tries to grab Fate's earnings. Fate gives him a single warning. When the man ignores it, Fate crushes him with ease. Other warriors attempt to gang up and remove Fate's mask, but they fail badly. One man nearly lands a hit, only to be kicked painfully before collapsing. Fate earns 100 gold coins. Just then, Roxy arrives and believes he is causing trouble. Disguised as Corpse, Fate explains what happened. Roxy decides that while Corpse went a bit too far, it was still self-defense. She blames herself for the disorder in Babylon and chooses not to punish him. She lightly punishes the troublemakers by sending them to jail for one night so they can reflect. Mania tries to remove Fate's mask, but Mugan says masks are useful for hiding ugly faces. Fate introduces himself as Corpse, but Mania quickly points out that it is obviously not his real name. Before leaving, Roxy tells him to take better care of his appearance. Embarrassed, Fate rushes off. Fate's clothes are badly damaged, so Greed suggests upgrading his gear. As expected, Greed insists they start with the expensive scabbard. Suddenly, the shop owner appears again and introduces himself as Jade. He explains that he opened his shop 3 months ago and wants Fate to use his equipment in battle as promotion. Jade believes Fate is the perfect warrior to help build his reputation. Fate agrees, and Jade upgrades his equipment significantly. Greed makes a comment, causing Fate to snap at him. Jade misunderstands and Fate quickly apologizes. Jade still charges Fate for the gear but gives him a discount. The total comes to 40 gold coins. Greed reminds Fate that he can always hunt more monsters. Soon after, Fate's hunger kicks in, and they head to a busy food stall. Greed assumes the food must be excellent, but the crowd is actually gathered around a beautiful woman. The woman approaches Fate and somehow knows his real name, even though he is masked. She explains that they are alike. Fate realizes she also possesses a deadly sin skill. She introduces herself as Aerys, the holder of lust. Her charm skill affects everyone around her, and she apologizes for it. She reveals that she has been watching Fate for a long time. Aerys explains that she belongs to the second generation and does not know the first generation well. She does not get along with Mine and admits jealousy. Aerys congratulates Fate for defeating Haniel and explains that more chimeras may still exist. She warns that if they mature, the weakened Holy Knights will not be able to stop them. Finally, she reveals her true purpose. She is a guardian of the kingdom and believes Roxy must die. Aerys explains that aggression builds up after monsters are killed and can create powerful beings. Roxy's death would create massive aggression and give birth to a powerful human who would guide the kingdom's future. Fate becomes furious and rejects the idea completely. He believes nothing good can come from Roxy's death. He leaves before losing control. Fate vows that no matter who stands in his way, he will protect Roxy at all costs. Roxy receives troubling news. One of the Holy Knight squadrons sent into Galia has completely lost contact. There are no messages and no signals. At the same time, Fate returns to Jade's shop in Babylon. Jade explains that to make a proper scabbard for Fate's strange sword, he needs a rare material called duck stone. This stone is extremely hard to obtain. The kingdom tightly controls its supply, and even skilled craftsmen cannot get it easily. Jade admits he has no idea when he will be able to get more. Greed shows no patience and suggests they gather it themselves. Fate looks at a map and realizes something surprising. The location where Duckstone may appear is close to the Great Canyon. When Fate enters Galia, giant orcs greet him almost immediately. Greed transforms into a shield, and Fate charges forward. Using Shield Bash, he smashes through the monsters. The orcs fall one after another, and Fate's gluttony skill activates many times during the fight. The area quickly becomes quiet again. Meanwhile, Roxy and her group struggle to reach the Great Canyon. Their compasses do not work, and the sky is fully covered by clouds. They cannot use the sun or stars to guide themselves. Mania angrily blames the clouds for blocking their path. After careful thinking, the group finds another method. Orc colonies gather toward the southern end of Galia. By following areas with heavy orc presence, they can slowly move in the right direction. Elsewhere, Greed praises Fate for learning when to rest. Fate takes a short break, but during this rest, he experiences something disturbing. He sees the girl who once existed inside the Chimera. A loud, terrifying noise drowns out her voice. Suddenly, Fate finds himself surrounded by blood and the faces of people he has killed. A dark presence pulls him downward. Fate wakes up in shock, unable to understand what the vision means. There is no time to think further. Fate senses powerful monsters nearby. Greed quickly confirms that these are not orcs. They are crowned beasts, and more than one is present. Fate activates his night vision and spots salamanders moving in the distance. He shoots one with his bow and brings it down. However, something feels wrong. These salamanders do not flee after being injured. Instead, they continue moving in one direction. Not far away, Roxy's group is suddenly attacked by several salamanders. The beasts break through their defenses with frightening power. Norden apologizes for failing to stop them. Mugan barely manages to save Roxy from being burned alive. The group finally understands how dangerous crowned beasts truly are. Mania attacks with her flaming sword, but it has no effect at all. Roxy rushes to protect her, and both are placed in serious danger. At the last moment, Corpse arrives. He strikes the salamanders with overwhelming force using a simple edge skill, but the power behind it is far from simple. Mugan is deeply impressed by Corpse's strength. After the monsters are defeated, Roxy thanks him. She encourages Mania to thank him as well. Mania refuses at first, saying she did not ask for help. Later, she finally gives a reluctant thanks. Norden also expresses his gratitude. Corpse notices strange marks on the salamanders. Every one of them carries the same symbol. He points out that crowned beasts rarely work together like this. It seems they were targeting Roxy specifically. Roxy suggests it could be coincidence, but everyone agrees that strange things have been happening lately, especially since the divine dragon awakened. Eventually, the group reaches the Great Canyon. Corpse thanks them for guiding him there, and Roxy is pleased that their paths align. Mania grows jealous and quickly pulls Roxy away, reminding her they must rescue the missing squadron. Roxy tries to say goodbye properly. Fate hesitates to take her hand because his mind-reading skill might activate. Mania grabs his hand instead, and Fate hears her thoughts. She does not want him anywhere near Roxy and wishes he would leave. Roxy pulls her away and scolds her. They say goodbye and separate. Fate feels strangely calm as he watches Roxy leave, even though he knows she is in danger. Soon after, Fate enters an area of Galia that feels purified. Monsters there are completely petrified, standing like statues. The place feels like a graveyard. Fate briefly imagines seeing himself turn to stone, but realizes it is only his mind playing tricks. As he searches for Duck Stone, Fate spots Aerys in the distance but loses sight of her quickly. He then discovers a massive chimera buried underground. There is no core inside it, so Greed believes it is only a prototype from ancient times. Several empty spaces nearby suggest that 3 chimera have already awakened. Fate begins to suspect Aerys may be involved. Suddenly, a massive explosion shakes the land. It comes from the direction Roxy went. Fate rushes toward her. When he arrives, he sees Roxy's group battling powerful chimera. Their strength is overwhelming. Corpse joins the fight, but his arrows deal little damage. Roxy explains that Mugan and Norden are injured while protecting Mania. The chimera can heal themselves, but Greed notices their healing is slower than Haniel's. Corpse explains that these creatures are chimera and that their cores are the key to defeating them. He coordinates with Roxy and Mania. When the chimera launch fire attacks, Fate's fire resistance allows him to push forward. One chimera tries to hide its core, but Corpse cuts it down, and Roxy destroys the core with precision. Fate notices her swordsmanship clearly reflects Aaron's teachings. Mania is attacked next and freezes in fear, believing she is about to die. Greed praises her courage. Corpse arrives just in time and saves her. Mania hates being rescued again but thanks him properly this time. Roxy orders Mania to take the injured to safety. She decides that she and Corpse will handle the remaining chimera. Fate draws his scythe. Together, he and Roxy use the same strategy they used before. Fighting beside Roxy feels natural to Fate, more than fighting with anyone else. One chimera remains and takes to the air. They wait for it to land, but the ground collapses beneath them. Fate grabs Roxy and promises to protect her. She trusts him without hesitation as they fall. Later, Fate wakes up to find Roxy resting on his lap. Panic hits him when he realizes his mask is gone, but he recovers it just in time. Roxy wakes up, and Fate distracts her with fire magic. Roxy explains they arrived too late to save the squadron. All members were burned alive. Fate says he learned about Chimera from a Galian survivor. Roxy recalls a rumor about a girl with a large axe and a man with a skull mask. Fate admits the truth. Roxy teases him gently and says he reminds her of someone important. She wonders if that person is happy. Fate says he is sure that person is happy. Suddenly, pain shoots through his eye as gluttony stirs. He runs away to hide it. The final chimera attacks and Fate destroys it. He notices the same mark again. Greed confirms someone is targeting Roxy. Fate swears he will stop Aerys. The cave collapses, revealing Duck Stone at last. Roxy reunites with her group. Everyone survives except the lost squadron. Far away, a mysterious blonde figure with a glowing green eye watches from the shadows. Roxy surprises Fate by telling him to draw his sword and face her in a duel. Fate has no idea why she says this, but Mania interrupts, revealing that Fate has an enormous criminal record. He has been involved in over 50 violent incidents with other warriors and destroyed property at least 20 times. Fate explains that all these incidents were defensive as he never attacked without reason, but no one wants to hear excuses. Roxy is determined to punish all violent acts and insists that Fate must take responsibility. She tells him that the only other option is to join the royal army. He draws his sword and prepares to fight. The duel begins, and it quickly becomes clear that Roxy is not holding back. Fate believes he should have the advantage in raw stats, but he struggles to overpower her. Fate is shocked to see that Roxy is targeting his mask. She explains that if he does not take the duel seriously, she will expose his identity. Fate finally takes the duel seriously. He prepares to use a holy sword technique skill, one that normally requires a holy sword. Fate reminds everyone that his scabbard is unique. made from magic crystals gathered in the Great Ravine. It functions as an add-on that enhances holy sword techniques. Roxy wonders if Fate was ever a holy knight, but he clarifies that he is no longer the same person. He is just a warrior now. Fate launches a powerful attack. Everyone, including himself, sees that he is likely to win. But then, Fate notices that Roxy has created a necklace from a gemstone he gave her. He becomes distracted, and Roxy takes advantage, knocking his sword away. Greed spins around angrily, scolding him for losing focus. Fate admits he was distracted. Roxy notices his fighting style and footwork are similar to Aaron's. She wonders if he learned from Aaron. Fate dismisses this, telling her that it doesn't matter. What matters is that she can protect herself in Galia. Fate begins to leave, thinking about how kind Roxy is. Even though she is in danger, she considers others, including him. Mugan speaks to Fate about the controlled chimera they observed earlier. Fate suggests Mugan have his daughter examine a chimera, but Mugan suspects Fate has bad intentions. He swears to never let someone like Fate date his daughter. Mugan's daughter named Rain is told that the Vlaric family is in serious trouble after Hado's death. Rumors suggest Raffaele has locked himself in his room, obsessively studying the Philosopher's Stone. Rain learns that the Philosopher's Stone can heal any wound and grant immense power, but it also dominates the mind and body of the user. Fate remembers Mind's advice. She told him to aim for something called the Domain of E, the level of power of the Divine Dragon. Without reaching this level, he cannot challenge the Divine Dragon. Suddenly, an alarm sounds. Norden reports that a massive stampede, also known as the Death March, is underway. Fate observes the Death March for the first time. He sees the royal army arrive, led by Roxy. Greed jokes, asking if Fate intends to be a hero again. Fate thinks Roxy can handle things, but he wants to be ready. Greed reminds him that he can manage it better than before. Greed then points out a huge object moving underground from the east toward the royal army. It moves like a swimming whale and is enormous. If it reaches its target, it could crush the army. Fate has Greed transform into a bow and uses Gluttony to amplify the attack, giving it extra range. The creature surfaces. It is a massive slime monster. It carries the same emblem as the previously controlled monsters. Fate decides he must uncover the truth behind this. Analysis reveals that this slime monster has stamina, magic, and spirit stats all over 10 million. Greed warns that even a holy knight could not defeat it. Greed changes into a shield to protect Fate from acid rain, explaining that touching the slime directly would be fatal. Fighting it up close is impossible. Fate gives Greed 10% of his stats and fires a flaming arrow to evaporate the creature. However, the slime splits and avoids most of the attack, diving underground again. It heads straight for the royal army. Fate destroys some of the smaller slimes that emerged, an advanced tactic likely controlled by an external force. Fate identifies the slime's re-emergence point and prepares to destroy the core. He gives Greed 20% of his stats for a more powerful attack. Greed is shocked since this move was untested, but Fate fires anyway. Just before hitting the core, something strikes the slime first. Fate is confused but hears his Gluttony skill activate. Surprisingly, the slime survives. Fate sees someone watching him, wearing a perception-altering mask like his own. He assumes it is Aerys and attacks to reveal her. Greed warns that this person has a weapon of mortal sin, the Black Gun's word Envy. Fate realizes that the slime was hit by a magical bullet first, dispersing its latent power and allowing the core to split. Fate is consumed briefly by the slime but emerges unharmed, having understood its corrosion magic. Greed warns not to overdo his Gluttony skill. Fate decides he must confront the masked figure first. He fires an arrow, but it is deflected. Greed explains that Fate has reached the peak of human stats. To go further, he must reach inhuman power, the domain of E. Fate attacks with rage, but the masked figure says he is wasting his time. Fate realizes this is not Aerys but a man. The man attacks with a gun, damaging Fate even with Greed's shield. The man approaches to finish him off, but Fate refuses to give up. He calls on his Gluttony skill fully, and both his eyes turn red. The man is shocked. Fate has reached the domain of E. The masked figure continues shooting, but Fate dodges easily and creates a smokescreen. He destroys the man's mask and discovers the identity, Norden. Norden acknowledges Fate is partly correct in naming him but refuses to explain further. He begins playing a flute, baffling Fate. At the same time, the divine dragon appears, heading directly for Roxy. Norden warns that it will reach her in 30 seconds and vows that both he and the dragon will do everything to kill her. He challenges Fate to give everything to stop them. Fate rushes past attacks, protecting Roxy. The dragon unleashes powerful strikes, but Fate stops them repeatedly. His mask is destroyed in the fight. Roxy realizes who he is. For the first time in a long while, Fate drops the disguise and greets her as himself. He has returned fully as Fate, the warrior prepared to protect her at any cost. Roxy feels happy to see Fate again, but she is shocked by his glowing red eyes. They don't have much time because the divine dragon is about to attack once more. Fate tells Roxy to run, but she is too stunned to move. Feeling regret, Fate apologizes for lying to her all this time and thanks her for everything before rushing toward the dragon. Roxy can only watch and cry as he leaves. Norden, the dragon's master, mocks Fate for thinking the fight would be easy. Fate tells Greed to be ready while Norden warns that their plan should be complete. Fate uses an ability called Grand Cross returnable to trap the dragon. Norden starts attacking him, impressed that Fate can immobilize such a powerful creature with a technique he hasn't seen before. Fate explains that he wanted a one-on-one fight, but he quickly struggles against Norden. He realizes his stats are lower because he used a secret art earlier. Norden is confident he will win. He lists 3 reasons. Fate is exhausted from entering the domain of E, he is holding back part of his strength to restrain the dragon, and Norden hasn't even used his full power yet. As the fight continues, Greed tells Fate to stay close to Norden and prevent him from keeping distance. Norden notices Fate is panicking and attacking recklessly. He understands that if Fate moves too far from the dragon, the trap will fail. Fate insists the fight isn't over, but Norden sees through him. Fate attacks, leaving himself vulnerable, and Norden takes advantage, cutting off Fate's arm. He believes the fight is over and recalls how Aerys had high hopes for Fate. He plans to kill Fate for causing him so much trouble. Suddenly, Norden is pierced through the chest. Fate has been using illusion magic to trick him. Knowing Norden would let his guard down once confident, Fate gambles by sacrificing his own arm. He tells Norden he can take it to the afterlife. Fate ends Norden's life, and his gluttony skill activates after consuming the dragon's soul. Fate suddenly finds himself in a strange place he recognizes. A girl named Luna appears. She thanks Fate for ending her miserable life but apologizes because she cannot do anything more. Fate doesn't understand her, but the ground begins to collapse, revealing all the victims Luna was connected to. Fate realizes that Luna was the reason his gluttony skill had been quiet before. Luna warns him that if he devours the divine dragon, he will lose control. The ground crumbles more, and Fate starts to fall, but he is saved by a familiar voice. Greed appears, having noticed Fate's silence. He tells them they need to return, but Fate wants to talk to Luna. Fate thanks her for the warning, but insists he cannot allow the dragon to roam free and plans to slay it once they return. The divine dragon breaks free, and Fate knows he must finish the fight quickly. Greed sarcastically points out that Fate only has one arm, but Fate uses him as a projectile, launching him at the dragon to deal massive damage. Fate identifies the dragon's stats using his skill and sees it is extremely powerful, but he still has a slight advantage in strength. He uses his strength to strike the dragon repeatedly, eventually causing it to collapse. The dragon still releases a strong attack, but Fate combines 2 skills to deliver a final blow, slicing through it easily. His gluttony skill activates after consuming the dragon's soul, causing him great pain. He fights to control the skill, knowing that losing control would make him a greater threat than the dragon itself. Fate realizes what he must do, and so does Greed, who tries to stop him. Fate taps into Greed's new level, which resets his stats, minimizing damage when he goes berserk. Greed is shocked that the gluttony skill is consuming Fate as well. Fate collapses from the strain. Mine appears, ready to end his life as she had warned him about overextending himself. Fate apologizes, but Mine is determined to keep her promise. Just then, Roxy appears and saves him. Fate is confused by her actions, but Roxy insists that she will never hate him, no matter his power or mistakes. Seeing Roxy's acceptance calms Fate. The gluttony skill, which was rampaging uncontrollably, is now quiet. Roxy urges them to return to Babylon, and Fate is amazed that she still accepts him despite knowing the truth. He realizes that while he always wanted to save Roxy, he also wanted her to save him like she always has. Mine leaves and Fate collapses into Roxy's arms. Later, he wakes up in his room at the inn and notices his arm is still missing. Aerys barges in to tell Fate he has been asleep for a week. She returns Greed to him, but Greed is upset, assuming Fate didn't notice he was missing. Aerys explains that they had to go into the central part of Galia to retrieve him. Mine was busy dealing with envy, and she couldn't collect him. The girls reveal that Norden had been controlled like a puppet by the Black Gun Sword, a weapon tied to envy. Weapons of mortal sin cannot be destroyed, so Mine used her strength to send envy far away. Aerys tells Fate that by defeating the Divine Dragon, he has proven his potential. They ask for his help in the coming events, as the original plan to create a crowned human with Roxy's death is over. Fate demands that they never go after Roxy again, which Aerys agrees to. With the Divine Dragon gone, the country will enter a new era, and Fate's involvement is necessary. He reluctantly agrees, mainly to understand why he was chosen to wield the gluttony skill. Aerys surprises Fate by revealing that they can heal his arm using a special type of magic. They must leave quickly before Roxy returns, as simply hearing her name could rile up gluttony. Fate agrees, understanding the danger. Later, Roxy comes to see him but finds he is gone. She discovers a letter in which Fate apologizes for lying and explains he had to leave for now but promises to return one day. The story flashes back to Fate's childhood. A young Roxy finds him, treating him kindly despite his cowardice. Fate admits he is scared of her anger, and Roxy realizes why people fear holy knights. She feels ashamed of being one herself but grows determined to act with pride. She feeds young Fate sandwiches, and he shares that he has no family. He tells her it is okay because she showed him that not all people in the capital are cruel. That moment helps Roxy gain confidence in herself as a holy knight. Elsewhere, the Vlerics discuss how shocking it is that the corpse was actually Fate. Raffaele goes alone and, surprisingly, feels grateful that Fate killed his brother Hado. He laughs uncontrollably while the Philosopher's Stone glows in the desert. Fate gives Greed 40% of his stats, revealing Greed's secret 4th level skill, Twilight Healing, which regenerates Fate's arm. The girls return to the capital. Fate is frustrated by Greed's greediness, wanting a new scabbard even though Fate just bought one. Greed insists they earn it through adventure, as always. Fate finally agrees with his partner, preparing to fight and embrace his identity as Glutton. That's all for today, my fellow men of culture. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe our channel for more anime recaps.